think a young person should actually...
Well, me personally, I don't throw away the fact. I watch shows from, all over the world. You want to see what those guys are doing that we're not doing. But at the end of the day, the stories that I want us to tell are the stories of if a doctor is stealing from a patient. Should we just say, no, let's smart the doctors that he wanted to be. Let's let the doctors do their job. Because after all, they help us. We are only patients. No. Tell that story.
Man eateth where he worketh.
Yes,
that's what
you
they
see,
say.
Man eateth where he worketh. And how about if you're eating from your garden and you also want to eat from the neighbor's garden and you know it's not yours? All you want to say is because I work close to that garden.
Okay, maybe I will add one thing. Integrity. It always keeps us in check.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. From nowhere, it is just an automatic of saying, this is right thing. Let me just do that. Yes. 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 And also maybe me on the other side, I'm more of a creative and the writing. There are people who are not going to go to the field, but there are those who are going to stay. There are those who are going to venture into animation. There are those who are going to venture into film. That's where my direction is. So, like Ronnie has said, maybe you may not tell a story that you have observed, but you can always create a story that can inspire people always, and that can put something to, it can add something to the young generation, or it can add something to whoever is watching, and they can get uplifted. Second, I wanted to say that, for example, if we, the young people, use the technology that is being availed to us. As we speak right now, data is becoming the biggest resource. So how are we going to fill this space?
Lugambo.
Anyway, I would maybe Dan, if, before you chip in, Mark Vex and Smart have come in at a time whereby we have the Media Expo going on, and this is actually looking at promoting effective media coverage of the SDGs in Uganda. I don't know if the two of you have any knowledge concerning the Sustainable Development Goals and how possibly could media be able to cover them to let everyone understand. Now that you have the power to influence and speak to millions and thousands of people, Mark Vex.
I'll tell you that just before we came in here, we were doing a story. Me and him do a show. And, we decided to do something different. Smart is very good when it comes to producing. So we sit down and we write stories. Where we work, we do a story called DCI. The first time we talked to people about DCI, which is Directorate of Civil Intelligence, it sounded like we're going to deal with military stuff. But again, to the surprise of many, we are doing a show that talks about, we look at a story that has been trending, and then we also talk about serious stories. So today, we're talking about a story we're talking about teenage pregnancies. And I know that the girl child or things about the girl child is part of the, Sustainable Development Goals. And we are looking at what has been the increase of teenage pregnancies. Now, if we don't use our platforms to talk about environmental, ways in which we can develop the environment, you see, it's so funny that we have been complacent and we've chosen to sit back and relax when we see the spaces where we're supposed to tell stories to do with sexual reproductive health and rights, where we should be telling stories to do with protecting our environment, our resources. We're only talking about who has bought the most expensive car, who was chucked, who was fought with the husband, who was... And it's come to... I want to blame us for being complacent and allowing that to happen. That even the producers that could be listening right now, by the way, you choose to lay that story and drop a story that is talking about a child who has been raped, a girl child, and bringing that man to book.
Goes back to our audience, maybe. Let's talk about the consumers. Exactly.
It's what they want.
You see... I love your diction, your choice of words. You're saying looks like. You're not saying it is what
feeding
an infant. They will take. It is what they will take. So it must begin with, our cooking areas. How do we develop that story? How do we, how do we dress it up? How do we present it to the public? And they will perceive it. But if we choose to say, tuwagales and numbers, trust me, if we chose to change the narrative and we start telling stories that matter, the audience will be there to listen to us and
adopt.
even join us on this wagon, and we can fight whatever we're supposed to fight and build what we want to build.
Smart as a producer, I really want to understand when you sit down and, you know, there is a story being brought to you. This particular story is going to earn you the numbers. Probably it is, you know, exposing someone who has been, you know, chucked or done anything. And then there is this particular story that is taking us to, you know, meet or achieve a certain goal. We have 17 goals here. What story would you go for, and probably what are the reasons you would definitely give? This is a story that is giving you money, and another one is probably not getting any money.
I'll still insist on the integrity check. Why? If you bring me a story that's going to tarnish someone's name, let me say if I publish that story, it might cause trouble to him, to the family, the people watching. First, put yourself in that person's shoes. Okay? Ngojewo echa money and then finances, we have to make the money and all that. But at the end of the day, we are human. You're going to go back to your village where you sleep, in your neighborhood, and people are going to be looking at you. They're like, maybe if they don't know you're the producer of the show, but they'll talk. That show brought up this, but it wasn't the right thing. But you would feel also a dent inside you.
Now, let me tell you something. I had a conversation with Smart. Lately, we've had the trend of TV shows that are called, they call them entertainment.
The gossip shows.
Gossip shows. They've been trending so much. But I'll tell you one thing. You will do that story or design your show that way. When our regulator comes in and says, we no longer want that because from our point of perspective, it's not doing us good, and that show is off. And when it's bringing chaos, even the people that have been giving you the money choose to say, you know what, going forward, we don't want to associate with a brand that seems to conflict with what our regulator is saying. What does that say to you? That, yes, it could be the battle for numbers, but the question is it going to stay forever? Number two, is it going to change a life? Number three, is it going to push our nation forward? For me, now and going forward, the question we need to ask ourselves is, I am doing this, the story. And let me tell you also, let me even bring it to Uganda. We move forward. Fast. We move on like real fast. There's plenty of things for us to think about. There's that story. So is that story going to have an impact? I will tell you that up to date, I think about Solomon's story, stealing from the sick. It's what we're going to live for forever. That if one day it happens, someone will say, there was this story. But if you come and say, it just ends that day. And we move forward. But things that are of substance, they stay forever.
Smart has talked about something so much interesting, integrity and how we tell these stories. At the end of the day, when you sit back, these stories that we tell are going to affect us. That reminds me of a famous photographer, was it Kevin Carter, who took a photo of this vulture that was next to this particular kid. And at the end of the day, cutting the whole story short, Carter committed suicide because the photo won an award at the end of
Awards,
the day.
actually.
Awards, you know, global awards. But he committed suicide because not being able to help this kid who was starving. And at the end of the day, the vulture ate this kid to death. You understand?
Now, that story is a development of so much that happens. He was going to dine with the vulture. You understand? Just to think broadly, away from the picture. You see, literature students, they will just give you a poem and they'll say, dissect it. What formats do you get? The assonance and alliteration, your choice of words, your imagery. So for me, it is a picture that bothered someone. And trust me, it also bothered you. It doesn't look pleasant. But that man took the time to take that photo. Rest in peace, he committed suicide. But I want to assure you that there's millions of people who interpreted it as that means in Africa there are people who are not having food, which is a fact, sadly, which is a fact. So if we have genuine people, even as Africans, even as fellow Africans, if we choose, I always see people saying we're going to Karamoja, and people look like they're not interested. It needs to begin with us. If we change this, it's so bad that every time they talk about Uganda, talk about Africa, it's poverty, it's sickness. Those guys also get sick. You know? Even us, our own selves, we never tell stories that speak of the beauty of how Africa is. We are black, we are supreme, we are hardworking, we are very loving people, we are very accommodative people. But why is it that we never tell those stories? You know why? It is because the narrative has been, we've grown up to say Africa is bad, so let's paint that picture of its poverty, its suffering, its death, yet people the other side are dying to come to Uganda and visit this beautiful country.
We have a challenge that even the people themselves, they're not telling the right story.
That is my point.
Because, listen, on Twitter, you can say something that will trend. You will never say something good. They will always trend the bad thing. I don't know. Do we need a civic education as a people? What can we do about this?
Our generation has so much been degraded to the level of, you see, people sound like they're hopeless, like they can't see, like there's no tomorrow, like they can't live for tomorrow. But I also tell you, for example, in Uganda, it's a very open-minded country. Everybody will say whatever they want. I'll give you an example. Have 5 boys, 5 girls. Start a discussion about love or marriage, and you'll be surprised. Have the same 5 boys, 5 girls. Start a discussion about SDGs, and you'll really be shocked. Talk to those people about investment or finishing school and getting a job and being a job creator. You'll be surprised. People sound like there's no hope. Where has this come from? It's what we've been going through. It's the stories that have been told and how we've been growing. A 13-year-old child now, by the time they're 18, what they're reading on social media, what they're seeing on TV, is what will get stuck into their minds. And they will know that this country has no hope.
Maybe for me, moving on swiftly from that, for me it's about, we have SDG number 5, which is about gender equality. And
that one has been,
we have had issues.
It has blown up.
But then for me, I don't, it blew up here in a discussion, but for me it's about, the next is about the media covering the SDGs. And there's been a topic the last few weeks about panels where there are only men for TVs and radios. And here we're men, but then we had ladies in another studios outside there, so maybe don't bring it here. But it has been about those panels. And one brings out an argument, someone brought an argument about it sometimes being impossible. Because if you want to have someone from the defense perspective, and you have the Minister of Security who is a man, you have the Minister of Defense who is a man, and you want to have someone talking defense, like someone was arguing it out that way. Maybe to start with Smart, I want to know, how can we move from these panels? Because we really need to move from them. But maybe it's that the problem is from who appoints the people who really maybe talk about these topics. Smart.
It goes back to the producers. You can, maybe you're going to talk about security. You bring the Minister of Defense or the person responsible for or the permanent secretary or what, and they are males. Maybe when you look at the female person to bring, you may not find any at the top you want to put at the panel. You can shift, go to, let me say, the analysts. Find analysts who have studied about security, and you find a lady who understands security. Bring her to talk about that. There are people who have studied security, maybe abroad, or maybe they have studied psychology when it comes to security. Make sure you find a person who can reason with this person, who is the general, who the what.
So does that mean our typical producer is lazy to look for those people?
Producers are lazy to find the perfect people, because even if you're going to talk about medicine or let me say health, you're going to find a doctor. And maybe you're going to talk about kids. You will still look around, you say, I know a doctor, he's still a guy. But you've not put in an initiative to look for the female doctor. Most of the female pediatricians are females. Yeah? But you may find that you're talking about gynecology. You'll be surprised, most of the gynecologists are males. But if you find that you're going to have 4 panels, and all of them are going to have males, kill some, kill 2. Look for maybe other doctors who are close to talking about the female side.
So, Ronnie,
they should do research and also give you information related to the other to balance the panel.
Smart mentions that maybe the producers are lazy. Ronnie, do you think it is that simple like he mentions it?
Yeah. I have always talked about laziness in our media, and the laziness I'm talking about is, let's begin. Nothing really against bloggers. I appreciate the fact that you bring the stories closest to us on our phones.
Very fast.
But I'll tell you that I have seen a story before move around, and the laziness comes in when someone has published a story, and all you do is copy and paste. Wrong name, wrong grammar, wrong spelling, wrong everything.
Wrong context.
That someone, even the story itself is a mistake, but as if that is not enough, you even have the wrong names in your story. What does that mean? Guys, journalism, we were always ushered into, being taught to do proofreading. That is like from the basics, proofreading. Proofreading will help you do research. Is this person really called smart? His national ID, does it have smart? But you see, we don't want to go to that. We're too lazy because we want to break the story. And like I said when we started, I said the gain is in the pain.
Is in the pain.
So until you go an extra mile, there's not going to be anything special about you. You're just going to be, everybody else's story. The laziness is killing, but trust me, if we have a generation that will stand up and say we're not going to be lazy, we'll tell these stories, we'll do the research, and give the right information, you will realize that there will always be something spectacular about them. That even when we're looking for who should tell this story, it is these people that we want to send.
There is something so much integral that I really wanted to ask, and probably Smart will help me bring context to it. As a producer, if you sit down journalism students, they will tell you one of the biggest challenges that is eating up the industry is the faces that are being brought into the spaces.
Same
Probably,
faces.
not same faces, but a one Mark Vex who is social, who is famous, never gone into any journalism school to study, professional code of ethics and maybe the principles that govern journalism, is being brought onto a set and told what to do. A paper is given to them and told them, this is A, B, C, D. Just a face, without knowledge about how journalism works. Now, does that eat up or does that determine the kind of stories that are being portrayed out?
Yes.
How are we going to fight that? Because even the people, we need them. Not that we want to chase them away. Let's take, for example, we get a one Dana Yebale, who is a famous, kind of humorist.
Blogger.
Not even a blogger. Humorist or humanitarian, yeah? Bring him on a show like this. How are we going to be able to sieve what he speaks out in an authentic kind of way?
If you're given an opportunity and they have told you you're going to be hired for a job, you have the looks, you have the voice,
you have the numbers.
you have the numbers, you're going to speak about this.
Numbers.
You're going to talk about this. Let me say teenage pregnancies. You're going to talk about this. And they outline for you key points. The producer will outline for you key points. How you're going to bring out these key points and how you're going to explain them will determine what information you're giving to the consumer. And if you did not take time to professionalize this or to look like a professional, you're going to misfire and you're going to give people the wrong information. What I mean here is take time to do research. It is never too late to learn or to unlearn and also to relearn what you can go into.
Maybe for me, you see, people take this whole journalism thing as, and I think this whole excitement of being on TV is what is eating up people.
Exactly. I buy into that idea.
I want to be on TV. I want to be on radio. I want to be seen. There's a time I was having a discussion with through Reach a Hand Uganda, and we're talking about media. I was, talking to young people, and I asked them a question. I said, "All right, so all of you aspire to be media personalities. Give me 2 reasons why you want to be a media personality." I was so surprised. The people say, I want to be on TV. I want to be seen on TV. Guys, we were never meant... It's what you do that will take you there. It is what you do and how you do it. I always tell people, if you ask me what success is, it's not having a lot of money when you're not happy. For me, success is when you do the common thing and you do it uncommonly well. you will sit back, relax, and say, I have done it.
Please
and
repeat that
nobody
once
does
again.
Do you have a round of applause
I
there?
just want to actually quote it and give you a round of applause. Please say that again.
Because you see, for you to be successful, you're not successful until you do the common thing.
Uncommonly?
And you do it uncommonly well. There are two things that our communities have confused. There's being a celebrity and there's being popular or being known. Being a celebrity, being known does not necessarily brand you a celebrity. You see, look at the word celebrity. There's something to celebrate about you. You understand? But someone who is well known for maybe being in sex scandals, if I should
can
say,
be celebrated for mediocrity.
there will be. I don't really think we celebrate mediocrity. Just like the same way we can celebrate Uganda's independence, but we don't celebrate World AIDS Day. We commemorate. You understand? So it is what you do that gets you celebrated. And I think for me, it's changed, it's shifted, and we need to teach our people. It's shifted from the reality of some people are not celebrities. They are just popular. Or when you do one thing, and do you know what? People want to be on TV, not to tell the stories, and some of them don't want to even go into a field. They want to be on that screen. They want to be seen at home. They want to be, and trust me, there's a million people who can sit in front of those cameras. And after all, you're reading what you're being given. But how about those that read? Ask yourself, why is Bale Francis a very famous guy?
It's because of the impact that he
He even went beyond being famous. He celebrated.
Celebrated.
He's a celebrity. May his soul rest in peace. Bale Francis would read a story, and you will feel it, and you will enjoy it, and you will understand what he's talking about. We had people in the field.
We have an entire award for the Bale Francis award here.
You see that the likes of the late Toya Kilama, those are Beatrice Okello, Owen Chibenge. Those are people that were in the media world, and it was about give to the public. The person watching me is my boss. I must do it to influence them and give them what they must receive. These days, it has changed from the viewer, it has come to me, who is on the microphone, that's why we'll have people get on radio and they say things that they're not supposed to say, and they'll get away with it, and they're comfortable, and they will tell you, oh, you're namukubye, oh, you're chenamukoze. Is it about that, or it's about what you give to the public? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. And until we have a generation, until we have journalists who understand, because in journalism school, you play journalism, it's like when you join the army. You pledge to protect this nation. If you're in the court, you will swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. If you're a doctor and you're being passed out, there's that part that you have to read to save life. It is key number one. And like I said, it's not only the journalism world. You'll get to a hospital where someone is dying and the doctor will opt for money ahead of life. It's how this generation has to be remodeled, restructured, changed, and brought to the books of saying, guys, we must stand for what we chose to stand for.
Well, I understand this conversation of these comrades will definitely go on over and over again. But I can't let you guys go without speaking about the entire DCL kind of thing. Humor meets journalism and to media, you understand? I really want to understand, is satirical content being adopted by the entire world, and what impact does it create?
For us, like I said personally, what we did was we're looking at a show that, this is not to blow our own trumpets, but me and Smart, like I said, 11 years now, we've been together, we've seen, and we keep telling ourselves, the TV industry in Uganda needs to change. Yeah. He's always told me the film industry needs to change. So many years ago, it's been changing. We're so appreciative.
This thing of the gossip shows, we talked about
I talked
before
about
even
it
it happened. TV
and we used to
change.
talk, and I said, no, man, shows as Chap 2K said, and they're not relevant, even. And long before we talked about it, it started happening. So DCI, we sat down and said, okay, so we want to do a TV show. The concept that we are given from, our bosses, we turned it around. We said, you know what? Let's do the common thing, but we do it uncommonly well. So we had to tweak a little bit, and we said, okay, how about we introduce something that we've not seen on the TVs in Uganda? And for me, that's what I'm very successful. I feel I've done a show that nobody has done. Everybody else who will come to do a show just like that, I'm the blueprint. Everybody has to just photocopy from what I put on paper. Yes, so we agreed and we did it. And I'll tell you something. The first time we talked to our bosses in the media world, they said, well, having a puppet on the show, maybe it can work for the youth. I said, listen, we want to talk about national issues. Last week we talked about a story to do with the Express, the Entebbe Express highway that we're going to be paying for. But our character is such that even when we're talking about the serious stories, we give life to them. That's who we are. We are joy activists. Tell the story. People didn't know, probably people who watched the show, I'm sure there are people who are saying, and they didn't, and it was facts. Today, we're talking about Honorable Miss Peace Mutuzo, who said it's because of these energy drinks that we have had an increase. Pregnancies. Now, that's a story that will just pass by and people will say, but you're going to parliament in a chigwa.
This man is a fact checker.
But we brought it back and we had to, on the show, for us, we say we counter propaganda. Whether it's propaganda from government or propaganda from the public, we'll bring it on paper and we say, is this true? But is it really true? In our sane minds, is it really true that because we have energy drinks, that's why we're having an increase? I've discovered ABCD, and it's pretty true. You'll go to the East, you'll go to West Nile, parents who say, COVID-19 came, I am poor, but I have a 14-year-old girl, go for marriage, you'll grow from there. Now, that sounds like a joke for a parent to say, but me, I want my dowry because I want to be rich. And it's what we're saying in the eastern part of this country. So it's a serious issue. Talk about it. And it might sound unserious, but I'll tell you that I go for weddings, and people will tell you, like old people. The other day we had a team from Operation Wealth Creation. They came into studio during a radio time, and big men, bazais, and they're speaking, say, oh, this is okay, this is good space. One gentleman is missing. He just went silent. When everybody said whatever they said, he said, may I have one question? Where is Mr. Magezi? He said, where is Mami Magezi? He said, I'll tell you that Samson Kasumba tells me he does his anchoring on Friday. And he tells me, man, I was like, when married is Magezi. Even the people we work with.
Adding on satire, satire is a way of bringing the other person in the village, person kuchalo wali wansi.
Matuga, wansi.
They have something to say, but their words will not be aired. They will not be anywhere on the mic to talk. But with satire, you pick, you represent them, but at the end of the day, you have to be balanced.
And neutral.
Yes, and neutral.
Well, unless Dan has a supplement.
Mine is really about appreciating you guys, because you see, we mentioned that we are in a generation where we are kind of, I don't want to say unserious, but we like the humor part of it all. So if you could bring the serious part of life and then intertwine it with humor, then you're trying to tap into an audience which is kind of younger, which has that shorter lifespan, attention lifespan, so that they keep on maybe switching through the humor, but then when keeping the humor, you come in with something serious. So they consume something serious, but in a humorous kind of manner.
And that's the easiest to always carry forward and take. That's why I always tell people who do radio, in your radio show, you don't have to have an entire show, because it will never happen for you to be the big guy and blast all the time. But there'll always be that one moment that people will remember you for.
About you.
People will remember you for. So that's what we say when we say you leave a mark. People will remember you for being that guy who will stand up and say, me, I oppose, and when I oppose, I have a reason, and people will take me for my sound mind. Fat Boy was that kind of person. He will take his stand and say, no, Donald Trump will win Clinton. It sounded like it was a joke. Like the whole world did not see that coming. The guy had his reasons. And when we went into the elections, we came back. I was forced to tune in and listen to what he was saying. And he said, guys, I told you, here we are. The man is the president.
Interestingly enough, as you watch all these conversations, what will be remembered about you? It is a question that you need to actually ask yourselves as we move on to a track. to see that we achieve the sustainable development goals. What are you doing to see that we reach that mark before, or actually not even before, up to 2030? It is a privilege to have you, Smarty Yucha, all the way from Next Radio, and Mark Vex, Ronnie, Dana Yebali. It has been always a pleasure.
But before you sign out, just the parting shot for them should be about maybe re-echoing the advice to the students who are there participating in tomorrow's competition.
Exactly.
Yes, for me, that could really be the golden part of the show.
I've been told they're building stories, that they're working on their stories. So every time you're doing a story, it's not going to be just about tomorrow. I've seen competitions whereby even those that do not win turn out to be those that we celebrate.
Exactly, we were saying that.
We've talked about that in the morning.
Can you imagine? And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So take this as what I call your square number one. Don't get into this challenge because you just want to win. Get in there because, number one, you're going to make friends. Number two, you never know tomorrow. Someone is going to be the MD of or general manager of a big company or big media company. And it is your credibility that will take you there. So as you create those stories, let's not forget credibility. Journalism, it's credibility is key. That's when we shall trust you. Even when we see you on those big screens, tomorrow, the next months to come, or even years to come, if I know that I can trust this person, you have me glued on your screen, boy, I'll be there.
Smart.
Yes, please.
A lot of young people are actually hopeful to become the next generation radio presenters that we have, and they're working on a couple of stories out there. What could be your last parting shots towards them?
I would just say that listen so much to the silent you. Deep inside us, we always have that
Small boy.
I will call it small around us, and then, but we take little time to be silent and listen to the inner us, where the creativity sparks from.
Well, if there is anything that I can pick from this entire conversation, he said it right. Listen to the silent you. And Mark Vex had a very unique kind of definition to success, that you have to always do the common thing in any common way well. Definitely, we want to thank you, each and every single person that has been following us through. We must actually say that you've been listening to MCI Radio, the biggest internet radio in the land for African voices. You can follow us on our social media platforms. That is MCI Radio on Twitter, Facebook. The YouTube channel is running. Our Facebook page is also running 24/7 for you to be able to catch up on these amazing stories that actually go on to happen each and every single now and then. It's been a privilege having you gentlemen right here. This is Majay coming in from Zawi. Still, let's roll on to it.
Somebody, with the money. Ngaba kutu mato bongo mafebesera. Street smart area yamu tuyeta, but we have to pick a budget, it's pick a money. So we rise it out and we pray. Got to sabane mukama tuyambe. We make it someday. See where we are now. How the people come see we. Please come see we. Come from far, now see what we are. Let the people come see we. Please come see we. We've come from far, now see what we are.
Man, I come from UK, I take a wempe bombo road. Story and the pamfu one kabya na maziga. Okutuka went to the kasoke never say jaja god. Never santi sapo one no matter what I never get it. Kira na liyala, kira na siva kenjala. Wenjo na jayenjala, nentandi kampolo kola. Wanda banga kubala, bamuwalo woza ndifala. No, wenjo kelelo bulamu bachuka kalanti yala na kisanyala. Nyumirwa, sasurwa, katifuna yo muwogo. Maka struggle sidogo. People show me love everywhere I go. Shining on a chain in Muburago. Only Mukonkola, you hobby. You made a hobby one the dobby. Don't you dwell a movie, na Kola no Sabarubi. Right now, inspire all the beats like Bobby. All the beats like Bobby.
Come see we, please come see we. See where we are, look what we are. Let the people come see we. Please come see we. See where we are, look what we are. Tomombo baffe bwesera. Street smart, area lyamu tuyita, but we have that bigger budget and bigger budget needs bigger money. So we hustle out and we pray. Got to savane mukama tuyambe. We make it someday. See where we are now. Tuiribanga bamaje, tuiribanga bamaje, tuchikubanga bamaje, tuiribanga bamaje.
Ready no, tuiribanga bamaje. Positivity toleta bad energy. Eya tubusabusa asabye apology. As we king kong the ready not to limaje.
Now you people come see we.
Yo, come see we.
Please come see we.
Yes, come see we.
Come from fire. Now
Mama
see
made
what
it.
we are.
See we
Make the
made it.
people come see we.
Yeah, come see we.
Please come see we.
Come see we.
Come from fire. Now see what we are.
Check it.
As how we are.
King Kong.
France Avenue.
You're listening to MCI Radio, the coolest internet radio. MCI Radio for African voices.
Boyfriend. Young block. Pick up, baby. Fire bush.
Tulakutaka ulize ugamba singunjagala ngenda kutambuza amawanga tugamba mama wo ate tugamba tata mukambwe ekibyatera ngeri mukambwe mukwano gwe nina gulinga bwati gunyuma binyuma muli babiri babiri mukwano gwe nina gulinga bwati gunyuma binyuma muli babiri babiri nayo nsobedde zontunuliza tamuli ebintu byombira babiri mu tekinologi wedo kikyankikola perfect ne ku ssomero gye nali nali perfect. Girl, you know everything. Girl, you know me love you. Body and it's in the yeah. Girl, you know everything.